Hello, everyone. It's been a week in which Nigel Farage planned his next referendum. We started hacking our own brains, and we all had a little think about what it would be like to be Vladimir Putin's mother. Welcome to the Lager and Ideology podcast, everyone. I'm not Vladimir Putin's mum. Are you, Ruben?
No.
You're not Putin's mum?
No.
Well, we'll get into it, everyone. Welcome. What are you drinking, Ruben?
I'm drinking vodka and Fanta Mango again. You see, I know it's a bit...
It's a teenage punch. You need one of them. That should be in one of those... I feel like that should be in one of them red cups that you play beer pong with.
No, this was a staple. You know, every time we drink, it was always, and to this day, whenever I'm with those same friends, it is, unless we're at the pub, bottle of warm spirits and bottle of warm mixer.
What's not to like?
That's it.
What's not to like, everyone? Well, you're at least on the Russian vibe. Yeah. I've just got some souls myself, but because they're small, I thought I should have one first, just to sort of
to lubricate. You got that down very fast.
Okay. And they're lighter as well. They're like they're smaller bottles, and they're lighter beer, aren't they? They're just sort of.
I don't know. I don't really have salt very often. I have
it's
had.
a summery. It's like a Corona-y vibe.
Yeah. I don't know. Because whenever, I don't know if my mum would be like, we're going to have some people around. Would you want any beers? And I'd be like, just any crate that's £10 or cheaper. When you're at the shop, just pick that up. That'll be fine for everybody. Don't worry. No one cares. You know, that kind of thing. And Sol was one of those that was sometimes beyond the menu.
Sometimes it came back.
Yeah.
You brought it. I wonder if Putin's mum ever brought him back a crate of Sol, and whether we'd still be here. Would we still be here if she had?
His history is shrouded in mystery. In fact, you know, because it claims, or in his, you know, I guess his official biography or something, must say that he comes from two parents who had him when they were quite old and passed away when he was quite young. And then another claim is that a woman, when he was elected in 1999, I think, a woman came forward and said, I'm his mother, and his father made me put him up for adoption. So yeah, those are the two. There might be more accounts, but those are the two accounts I know of.
It's interesting that, because I didn't know anything about that, and all over Twitter it's been people saying actually it was brought up very nicely. It's incredible what people sort of think they know. But let's say why we're talking about this. I mean, obviously we wanted to cover, you know, we claim to cover the weekly news, and obviously the biggest thing in the news is this enormous war in Ukraine. But obviously we're not really qualified to take things seriously. So we aren't. I mean, I do have certain things I want to say about about the representation of the Russia-Ukraine conflict in the West and stuff, and how people have consumed it. But I woke up this morning to this, and I thought this is more our ticket, really. This spoken word poem from a celebrity that I've never actually heard of. Have you heard of Anna Lynn McCord, Ruben?
I hadn't heard of her before. No.
Well, we've bloody well heard of her now. And woke up this morning and had a little check on Twitter, as one does, and saw this. And I think, you know, what is this? Is it spoken word poetry?
Yeah, she kind of delivers it with some, I don't know, because I don't really know where one draws the line between spoken word poetry or poetry or like slam poetry.
It's not slam,
because all of it's quite cringy to me, anyway.
I mean, I also agree with you that I don't like those things. But anyway, I think it can't be explained. This is beyond cringe for me, and I think I have to play. I'm just going to have to play listeners a couple of lines, because, you know, this is remarkable, really, what it is. So we'll just have a little listen, and then we'll have a chat about what's going on here.
Dear President Vladimir Putin, I'm so sorry that I was not your mother. If I was your mother, you would have been so loved, held in the arms of joyous light. Never would the stories plight the world unfurled before our eyes, a pure demise of nations sitting peaceful under a night sky. If I was your mother, the world would have been warm.
I mean, that'll do.
Yeah, it's actually worse. It's worse on the second listen. I had one listen earlier at work today, and I was sort of like, oh, this is quite cringe, but it might be because I was distracting myself and doing some stuff while I was listening. Like, oh, this is really cringe. But that,
I don't. It's sort of. I was sort of speechless this morning. Not
No,
that I'm always.
that's it. I think we should. The celebrity class. We need to start killing them.
But so, I mean, so what the point of this poem, the meaning, let's say, if we were like doing A-level poetry, English literature on this, the meaning of this poem is that motherhood is really important, and bringing up, if he had a good childhood, like Putin had been like had a nice mum, he wouldn't be roaming around the world starting wars now.
But what if he had a nice dad? Also, it does seem to forget that I think a Putin figure would have existed, like regardless.
Yeah, it's not his mum's fault, is it?
And it's not his mum's fault. Yeah.
but it's also got elements.
She didn't while she was like singing nursery rhymes to him, sing rhymes about like blowing up the world if he wants when he's older.
I mean, it's also like a bit of like it's something about the West and motherhood as like this kind of like Western kind of motherhood, I suppose.
Yeah.
And like if you, because an undercurrent here is like if you were brought up over here where things are
it's crazy because we say the West, all right, but there is a big fucking difference between where the most western part of Ireland ends and then when you get to the US and it all gets a bit weird over there. There's a big difference.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if I can include Iceland in that. Iceland are part of the West, but I don't know how far west they are.
I think you're making a good point there because it's interesting. I don't know if I just hadn't been reading the news, but the phrase "the West" had not really been in the news. In my opinion, I wasn't like hearing it and feeling it a lot. This Russia thing has brought that phrase right back in. Actually,
the West.
That is quite interesting because like there is no the West. There is no homogenous one West.
No,
and it clearly this like look. I mean, Russia. I think we need to maybe just say we obviously do not think that Russia should be. There's no excuse for to go into war. It's that's not where I think obviously doesn't need to say. Well, there probably is excuses for going to war, but this is
there are lots of reasons for that. And then I've talked about them with people what we think, just speculating, blah blah blah. But I don't want to do that right now because we've got to talk about this woman and the motherhood thing. That's more interesting.
But what I want to say is the West thing here is that like the way that the phrase "the West" has been used, it's almost to say that it makes out like the Russian, because this is, I think, a really important thing to say. The people of Russia, like I've got loads of good friends in Russia, and I've been chatting to them recently about what's going on. They're all, out at protests, at marches, trying to stop this happening and risking their, freedom by doing so because they can be arrested and stuff. So the Russian people by no means want to have this war. And when we talk about things like the West and the East, we're implying that that's what they're all like over there. And this mother video is doing exactly that. Even though it's about the individual Putin, it has this kind of undercurrent of that. Like, if they were brought up over here, they wouldn't be doing this stuff.
She was actually, I looked into, I just went on her Wikipedia, and she was raised in a trailer park. She was homeschooled for much of her life and graduated high school at 15. I don't know whether that's weird or not, but she was homeschooled. Very well, and her father was like a Christian pastor. I don't know what her mum was, but they weren't allowed to watch Harry Potter because it had witches in it. So this is clearly a weird, an individual that's had a weird upbringing. So fucking God forbid actually that Putin was brought up by her, because fuck knows what he'd be doing after that. He'd probably be the same. It'd be like someone that was deprived of something as a child and then just grew up to be the same bloke.
Yeah, no, but I mean the fact that I totally think that's right, and like I actually looked at her. I didn't go to Wikipedia, so we took different routes, but I was looking at what other things she'd posted on Twitter, and I started to wonder whether she was she's got a pinned tweet. Did you watch that? Which says,
"No.
What is your purpose? Mine is to fight to end slavery, not just of the body, but also of the mind."
Oh yeah, all 7 billion of us are slaves or something.
And exactly, and that's it. And it's like, well, actually, I mean, slavery is not far be it from the Largo Ideology podcast to have a take on slavery, but it's an actual thing. It's not something you can beat with positive thinking. And I thought when I was looking at this video, honestly, I thought that she was a parody. I wonder whether I was the joke here. Like, I think she's not. But sorry, this is the video. But you know, there's a video of her like holding children in Africa.
No, she's for real. She's for real. She is just a typical white American actress who has ideas far beyond her station. You know,
she just talks in cliches, and there's like a meaningful soundtrack while children. There's literally a load of like African children reaching their arms out to her while this kind of music like this plays.
What you aren't and what you can and what you can't.
Listen to that, mate. What you are and what you can.
You're the only one who gets to determine that.
With her like voiceover and that, and I thought, is this like brass eye?
It's like but there's also it's like I mean, it's not like this, but I guess it's the same ideological viewpoint from her as like Molly May saying, "We all had the same 24 hours in a day."
Well, exactly.
We can all live the American or British dream.
Yeah, and to do that because we're all enslaved is know an extremely racist thing to say and a stupid thing to say. But anyway, it's not just about her, because what I thought was interesting about this when I was going through my coffees this morning is like, I think this does embody something about this West and East and how fucked up the West is basically, and this Ukraine situation. Obviously I don't know to speak about the sort of political and details of what's going on, but what is clear is that how Ukraine is operating as this kind of border between the West and the East in the eyes of the West, in the eyes of our media and our celebrities, like this, it really shows that. It shows that, this kind of like othering of the East that is happening. It's stupid. It's like it's almost like Ukraine is now being presented as this kind of line between us and them. And like I said, the people of Russia are interesting, humane, humanitarian people who don't want this to happen as well. This is not This is not the time to be. My point is this: this is not the time to be inscribing a border between the East and the West, which is exactly what this idiocy of the way this woman approached it is, but also what basically what the BBC thinks. That's we laugh. My point is this: we laugh at her stupid poem, but it's not actually that different from the kind of coverage that you see in the mainstream media, which is basically saying Putin's a psychopath and the East is full of them. It's awful. It's just not the case. Like, the people of Russia, the people of the so-called East and so-called West do not want the war. That's fine. So it's not a good time to be describing a border.
It's totally ridiculous, I think. And also there's a lot of very sensational things being said, and a lot of people who don't really understand any of it or why Russia might actually do anything that why Putin would decide that certain things should happen. I think it's unfair to say Russia, but it's a pretty typical thing. People do all the time. Like, with your football team, you'll say we or us or them.
Yeah, right.
It's not though, is it?
What do you think? I mean, what's your not that we know again, but like, what do you think is going to happen with this? Because one thing I also think is interesting with this whole Russia thing, I don't know how we still got a few minutes, I think, is the sanctions thing. What's been called sanctions, like basically taking away things
like SWIFT
that people like. Yeah, so, SWIFT, but also the football. They're taking away they're saying that Russian teams can't play.
They can't play at home or something, right? I thought the clubs couldn't play at home. England
and some other countries have refused to play against Russia, and the UEFA are considering getting.
It's interesting because I have said that the reason that because a lot of people think that nuclear war is a possibility, which it isn't in my mind, because capitalism is like the saving grace here. It's, well, if we blew everything up, then how would we make money? How would we do that? That's kind of what I'm seeing as one of the reasons, because Putin clearly wants land and power. That seems to be one very rational thing that you could apply. One rational view you could apply to him is his best case scenario is land and power. His worst case scenario is not losing any of his current land or power. That's it. That seems to be those are the scenarios.
So you think basically none of those sanctions would have any effect because he doesn't care? Yeah.
Well, no, because the capitalism thing, though, trying to exclude him and Russia, I guess, trying to exclude Russia from like football. There's a lot of money there. Trying to exclude them from the economy or the global economy. But maybe this is what Putin wants. Maybe he's building secretly a socialist communist utopia under us, and he's going to prove to the world, you excluded me, but I'm just going to make the world better. I'm just going to make Russia the best.
Yeah, I mean,
that's definitely not what it is, but I thought about that the other day.
But this is what intrigues me about it. What you're saying, like, is this methods, an actual method of stopping? Because obviously the idea of these sanctions is eventually they'll stop doing it because they've lost so many things that are of value.
Like they can't, because SWIFT, I'm pretty sure Russia has already come up with some alternative means.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Or something. And in terms of like sanctions, you know, all that happens is Russia stops selling gas and oil to Europe, or
but
just sells it at a higher price.
Interesting in like culture wars terms, like, you know, in terms of culture wars and stuff, because like what you're basically saying is this act of, you know, physical material aggression can be punished by like taking away cultural
exclusion.
Which is a really interesting place to be for the planet to be in this place, you know, to be and I mean, I think it's worth saying as well, taking away, I mean, my point about taking away football would be like, you aren't taking that away from Putin and his, you know, you're taking that away from the Russian people, you know, you're punishing the wrong people there, and that goes to what we were saying before.
Ultimately, as well, you know, are Russian people going to be resentful of their leader, who you know, who will, and the institutions that he commands, who can just put them in prison if they say anything?
And this is I think this is a mistake people make. People are making a big mistake here. People over here think if we can get enough Russians to disapprove of Putin, that's not how it works. They already do. Yeah. You know, that is not the case. It's not like we need to convince Russians, you know, to come on board with Western capitalism like they tried to do in other countries. That they already are. That's not how this is going to work. But yeah, anyway, the culture wars thing, I think it is really interesting, because it's for the planet to be in that space. It's basically like saying we've got this kind of one capitalist hegemonic culture, and if you know, transgress, you're out. You know, I just find that fascinating. I mean, obviously, I agree with the idea that, look, if the sanctions stop the war, then brilliant, they were a great idea. But if they don't stop the war, then what have they done apart from exclude, you know, Russian people from the culture instead of building those kind of solidarity with those people? I don't know. It seems like the wrong approach. The ones which have a financial impact, I think I agree with, but not like. Yeah, well, I mean,
now interest rates in Russia have doubled today. Interest rates have doubled because the value of the ruble has plummeted.
And it will do, wouldn't it? A war screws over the working class really badly.
And war seems to be one of the approaches that a nation that is about to go bankrupt will just pursue to distract from it.
Surely this is the point that needs making.
Allegedly,
it's not to take anything away from people empathizing with Ukrainians. Like there's like 400 who died or something. It's a massive thing. But, you know, a war is going to fuck over the working class Russian population, isn't it? Mm-hmm. You know, you're going to have inflation, you know, cultural exclusion from the West. You're going to have people, you know, you're going to have people going to war and getting killed.
It's already fucked.
It's all exactly
for the working class in Russia, based on the fact that, I mean, it's hard because I don't know whether it's like propaganda or whether the Russian military truly is made up mostly of sort of kids that don't even really want to be there, because allegedly morale is quite low. They're not really very well equipped in some parts of the Russian military. So I was just thinking, I mean, I know they do have some compulsory service, right? In Russia, is that a thing still?
Yeah, I'm not sure actually.
Okay. Sure. Well, if it isn't, then their military being made up of mostly young people would point to they can't get a job, so they just have to join the military and deal with it. You know, that's it. So maybe it was already that way before. It's hard to say because you don't really pay a great deal of attention to something until, you know, something like this happens. And even then, exactly. Like, the news doesn't really do a lot because the news doesn't tell you about what's going on. Like the news didn't even make it clear that there'd been a civil war in Ukraine for the past 8 years. And then I was like, I remember that. I remember hearing about it. Yeah, you know, over
precisely, mate. No, that's exactly it. What we get there's a long history of this Ukraine conflict. And I really recommend. I was listening to this thing on the YouTube channel Diet Soap Media with Kuba, who's this he's Russian and knows about it. You know, I think people should listen to that. But like, you know, I guess I want to say exactly that. Like we're completely, the way we consume it over here, like I can't comment on the details of the conflict and what it means. What I do know about is this media here and the way we act on social media and digital media and in the media, in the mainstream media. And it, you know, for example, having the Ukraine flag on your Facebook profile picture. Now, this is an extremely shit situation, in my opinion, and not something I would want to do, because firstly, Ukraine, it has its own fascist kind of elements in its government, really strong ones, which the flag represents to a certain extent. I saw some, anyway, whatever. I saw some bullshit post about like the Ukraine flag represents grain, like yellow grain, and then a blue sky, because it's like the sort of workers, beauty of the workers' land and farming and stuff, which is an interesting history of the flag. But like, the flag now also symbolizes a kind of, so what we do is suddenly start sharing flags of Ukraine. And, we need to feel, like we've been saying, we need to feel absolutely that these Ukrainian people, the people of Ukraine, are being screwed by this, and the people of Russia too. This shouldn't be Russians versus Ukrainians. This is something that the states, the power holding state of the Russian government have done. And it's not the time, we need to feel empathy with the Russian people and the Ukrainian people in exactly the same way, because they're all going to be screwed by this, and there'll be deaths on both sides. There'll be various other effects and so on. So it's, like with everything, our media just fucks the whole thing up in its representation of it, I suppose.
And that is a good place to move on to the next subject.
Yeah. The media is as bad as Annalyn McCord. But we didn't even talk about what it'd be like to be Putin's mum.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, no, it's gone.
I don't know.
It's gone. I think he'd be difficult at Christmas dinner and that.
Yeah, he'd still be a bit sullen no matter what you gave him.
Yeah, and like it'd be annoying if he like stood there on his horse with his top off while you were trying to just like have a normal family chat.
Mm-hmm. That's where it started, actually, when he was on a rocking horse. He didn't even have a shirt back then. He could not wear the shirt. All he had was his rocking horse.
Yeah, that was him. Right then, and that's why we have war. That's why what's next?
War. What's next? What next is
more beer. Oh yeah.
No, you wanted to talk about something about Farage that I hadn't heard about, and I wasn't really. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
I hadn't heard.
No, I heard about it this morning. I thought it was interesting, and another kind of serious topic, I suppose, before getting to the fun ones. But not. I mean, there's nothing. Yeah,
it's not that serious. It's just bloody Farage.
Yeah, it can only get so serious with Farage. No, I mean, what I thought about was basically Farage is planning to. You know how he got that referendum to happen with Brexit? He's planning to like get another referendum to happen.
For what? What the fuck can we referendum now?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was going to be my question to you in a minute, Ruben. Like, what if you got one referendum? But basically, the referendum that Farage wants is: shall we scrap the climate change bill, the net zero thing? So he's like against. He's against. No, yeah, hang on. Against. No, he's against sorting out the climate, because he thinks that we shouldn't have sustainable and good climate policies because it's screwing up business and stuff. So like his thing now is to be anti-climate change people, anti-green. So
I don't think that's even going to take off in Britain. I don't think that's going to take off anywhere.
You know what? I have we've discussed this before. Like there are certain things about Britain that we both agree are brilliant and underrated, but I wouldn't put it past a large portion of Britain to get behind this.
Yeah, well, I think I don't know. I don't think it would do very well. Is my point. I don't think it would keep win. Also, you can't just start asking for referendums on random things all the time. I'm not one for educated policymakers should make all the decisions, but I'm also not one for uneducated members of the public should make every decision as well. Maybe there should be some middle ground in which members of the public are educated as to what any of this means, because as we saw with the European Union referendum, there was precious little in that regard.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and it's totally, but okay, I think something interesting here. I do think there's something interesting about this. The idea that it's come up again. I mean, obviously we had the Scottish referendum, we had the Brexit one. It's somebody whose stick, or whatever you call that, shtick, is making the people feel represented, mm-hmm. and giving them the opportunity to have their voice heard.
But it's always about the stupidest thing. It's always about something that's like, yeah, come on, everybody, get ready. Look, They don't want you to shoot yourself in the head. They don't want you to. Come on, everybody, let's do it. Let's shoot ourselves in the head. And then everyone does it, and then he's still alive because he doesn't mind.
But Brexit was as stupid as that, wasn't it? I mean,
that's what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, and yeah. Although it led me to think a bit about climate change in a broader sense, and I was reading a great book this week. Called The Tragedy of the Worker, and it's basically it's by a collective of people called the Salvage Collective. They have a magazine called Salvage. It's really good, and it's basically about how a lot of, I mean, to cut a long story short, there's an enormous amount of bullshit in businesses talking about sustainability, and basically
it doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything. Every business has got this net zero mission, this reduced carbon footprint, green, sustainable future. But they're all. I
mean, what Farage's thing, his battle seems to be like what for the work for the people. But it's not as if they, let's say that business saves money, they're not going to then pay people more. They're not going to make more jobs. They're going to keep putting more and more roles into one job and make you get paid less and less for doing that. That's it.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, but the question of climate change, all those green policies and stuff. Like, I mean, I'm not like coming around to Farage's way of thinking, but there's so much bullshit in the climate change discourse that something clearly needs to change with this. Like, it's not okay for like completely evil companies to just have like a green logo and talk about sustainable future or green future.
It's not fair. And then for it to be lumped to everybody else, it's like, right, well, you've got to stop eating the food you like, all right?
Yeah.
Because it's bad. It's bad for the environment. You're not allowed that anymore. But this business, I think it is the 100 largest companies in the world make up 70% of all like pollution in the world.
Yeah. And this book, this is, no, it's bizarre. And so like, So I guess what I'm trying to say is, it sounds mad to think Nigel Farage is going to get the population to rally and become anti-climate change. But when you're living in a world where there's just so much bullshit that you're expected to consume all of the time, people will. And that's what happened with Brexit, isn't it? Like, people voted for Brexit who had no clue what it was. I mean, to be honest, I'm not even anti-Brexit. I sort of thought myself as a bit like similar to Corbyn's original position, like left Brexit, like the EU's bad, so let's get out of it. But then obviously the Brexit we got was a completely different. Anyway, whatever, that's irrelevant. Doesn't matter what I think. The point I'm making is people vote for something they don't even understand. It's not a question of that. It doesn't matter whether people are pro or anti-climate change. But if someone's just an outrider like Farage saying, let's do this completely wild thing instead of what the mainstream media is telling you to think and feel.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what that wild thing is.
What it's going to work. It's going to work,
yeah.
It's definitely, it may not lead to a referendum, which I don't think it would, but it might lead to people sort of, the trouble is that the people seem to get mobilized towards in the wrong direction a lot of the time. And it's like, I don't know, they don't seem to be able to make the connection between, say, Boris Johnson and his cabinet and then MPs and government. And they don't seem to be able to make those connections. So they get angry at one thing and it's like, no, but and seem to make exempt all these other things which are also a part of it. For example,
exactly.
People get angry about the police doing this, that, and the other, but not at Boris or something. It's like, but you realize he's the prime minister, right? Like the police's behavior is going to be somewhat, anyway, a reflection of his government's policy. And do you realize that, right? But there doesn't seem to be that a lot of the time, which probably really irritates people when I'm saying that from another country. And I've got my fancy university degree.
My fancy degree.
A fancy schmancy college degree.
They're okay. I've got some of them.
Doesn't seem like really that.
I don't actually have. To be honest, I don't actually. Well, I have the degrees. Like I promise, I did them, but I don't have the certificates. So
you don't know. You don't know what you did with them, or
no? I have no idea what they are.
Oh, you could request some like copies if you wanted them. You'd have to pay.
I don't want them.
Yeah.
Until I lose a job for it. I don't know. But anyway, before we run into the next topic, which we're getting a little bit close to, we haven't got back to this big question, Ruben, of what we're going to have a referendum on, please.
We actually have a good 7 minutes on this subject still. So
oh, great. Okay, well, that's good.
What would I referend? Well, recently the price of the meal deal at Tesco actually went up to
Price
three.
Of what?
The price of the meal deal, yeah. Unless you have unless you have a club
Yeah.
card, you now have to pay £3.50. If you do have a club card,
so what is it? £3 with a club card?
£3 with a club card. Tesco have been doing this now for like a year and a half, 2 years, where without the club card, you are excluded from many of the deals.
Yeah, I have noticed that yellow label on some signs where it's
wow,
like
it's pretty much everything
or,
now. Pretty much everything. All the best deals anywhere on that. And that made me question, well, how much is that data really worth? How much are our shopping habits actually worth?
Isn't
are they
that
worth
actually
that
telling
much?
you?
Are they really worth that much to them?
That's telling you, isn't it? The data
I mean, I can't imagine Tesco is selling that data very much, because it's probably more valuable to them specifically, because it's just in their shops and their demographics. And, I can't imagine they can get much value from selling that.
Oh, no, but probably they can. I think you'd probably be surprised. But
the
only reason, because if you think about it, how does that data move? Like, your credit card statement and stuff, that just says like Sainsbury's.
Yeah, exactly. It's not enough detail. They need to know what you're buying, when you're buying it, time of day, time of the week, time of year. They want to know all of it. They want to know all of those habits, but that doesn't. So maybe I would referend the meal deal back down to £3. However, that would probably mean.
Why don't you go big? Just say end of club cards, end of data collection, but you're going for the meal deal.
You can't referend that. No one knows what the fuck you're talking about. The meal deal, that would get the people going. They would.
Why don't they? You could do it like that. You could say end of data collection, which means and that would be your key argument, which means the meal deal is £3.50 for everybody. Suddenly, everyone
it's £3 for everybody.
£3, sorry.
You don't want the price to go up for everybody. No one would fucking vote for you there.
No. I meant £3. Right. Okay. Well, I think that's a good answer. I'm gonna. My idea comes from another podcast, or a friend, but actually we both know her. But I always think we forget. I always forget to tell our listeners about this podcast as well, because I kind of stole our podcast name from, or we did when we talk about it, from Mariam's has a, Mariam.
But you just said the name of our podcast once in a message. You said Pints and Ideology. You said that's what Britain was
right.
Like.
And then
did you steal it then on that day? That was just you.
Yeah. Well, what I stole it from is Mariam's podcast called oh God, what's it called?
Even I know this one.
Negronis and what?
Yeah, I don't know what the next word is. I just know the drink.
Oh my God, what's it called? Anyways, it's in Lithuanian, so I doubt that we've got Lithuanian listeners who need to seek it out. But in any case, it's called Pitchfork. It's called Negronis and Pitchforks, or something like Pitchforks and Negronis. Yeah, and it's in Lithuanian. We might have one. Well, we do have one. We might have another, but then that is somebody who does the podcast, so she doesn't need to watch it. But we might have a second Lithuanian listener. If we do, you should check out Pitchforks and Negronis, which is a sort of posh Lithuanian version. Well, I guess it's probably less posh, but the drink is posher. Anyway, Mariam's idea for a petition, I think I'd like to turn into a referendum sheet. And basically the idea is we should turn off the internet for Americans for 1 day a month, but everyone else gets to keep it.
Yeah. The thing is, in America, Comcast is doing that to most of them once a month as it is. So, because the internet there is, I think, pretty shit. Your service is pretty bad.
But this, I feel like this would have an enormous effect. Like, she mentioned it as a joke.
It would be amazing, actually. I'd love that.
Imagine, even if it was just 1 day. Imagine if like nothing you saw was from America. Yeah, and like how that would reshape. You'd hear people.
I'd love that. I would much prefer to just communicate with Europeans, I think, and people in Asia and the other parts, but I don't want to communicate with Americans. I don't want to do that. North Americans, I guess we should specify that part. And fuck it, Canadians, while we're at it, they're pretty much the same thing.
I like Canadians.
Nah,
no more.
Nah, they're in there. Trudeau. What do you think of him? Prick. That's what he is.
Prick. Yeah. Jordan Peterson. Prick.
Good prick. Yeah. There you go. That's Canada fucked.
Yeah,
So-
that's them out too. But no, I think this is really interesting. I just think it would radically change everything. And maybe, you know, if we don't want to be anti-American about it, which it seems like we do, you could have
Yeah, I do.
certain day every country. It could be a cycle or something. But what would be powerful about that is that you know, it would be interesting. Maybe okay. How about this? One day a week, the internet, like that you can't like access any internet that isn't Britain. And the same goes for every country in the world. So for that day, like everything in China is just China.
But I
Everything
think
in America
what's
is just
great
America.
though in some countries is the fact that they actually have this language that they speak. For example, Norway, they all speak
Right,
Norwegian.
right.
How many other people speak Norwegian? I do a bit. So they
I think
actually get to
you're onto
communicate.
it, yeah.
They get to
You're onto
communicate
it
together.
there.
The trouble is that British
Yeah.
or Anglo-American culture is
Yeah.
is shit.
Yeah.
That's the trouble. It's just
That's
shit.
absolutely right. I mean, what I'm basically trying to do here
I've had enough
is
of it.
use technology to create a language. Yeah.
Yeah, we just need a language
Without
that
having
the
to bother.
Americans can't
Yeah.
speak. We should.
We
You know what?
do.
It should have
That's
been
what we
the
need.
Americans should have. I wish that language there had evolved in such a way that it was like this horrible Dutch, English, something up French
Yeah,
combination, and only they spoke it, and we just sort of could just sort of ignore them.
But this is a good point that, you know, people always say it's lucky to be English because you speak the global language.
The
whatever.
lingua franca.
Yeah, and yeah, sure, it makes your life easier as a teenager because you don't have to be asked in your French class. But ultimately, what that does is means you don't have a set of media outlets, social media, newspapers, radio, TV, whatever. You don't have a set of those which is only yours as a community.
I think
whereas
great,
when I spend
Norwegians have it great.
Yeah, well, I spend quite a bit of time in Ljubljana in Slovenia. Yeah, we recorded one from there, didn't we? I'll be there again next month. And you know, I don't speak Slovene, so I can't join in. But I'm very, very much aware that they're thinking about global issues in English, but they're also thinking about Slovene things in quite a different way to the way in which we think of our local or national stuff. And I think there's a massive advantage in having that. So maybe it's not actually ultimately preferable to be an English speaking person because you haven't got that sort of small secret language.
That's what I'm saying, and that's the end of that subject.
Plus you can slag people off without them
that is quite valuable now, I think, with some of my Norwegian ability anyway, that if I were in England I could do that.
Yeah. And if you learn it but like don't look Norwegian, like you probably don't, you can hear yourself being slagged off and then be like, aha.
I've got AirPods in a lot of the time as it is, so plus I don't know if people are really like that here, you know. So again,
right. Well, what we just said was great, by the way.
Don't know why I did that. Yeah,
I think what we've just said, this is now part of it. I hope what we just, I think what we just said is one of our better insights. Actually, we've covered over all. We reached an actual argument there.
We did. We did reach an actual argument. We've done that, I think, across. Well, this is the 8th episode. We've probably done that like 4 times.
Yeah, there's been. Yes, that's right. There's been 3 or 4
40
times
subjects. 1 in 10 subjects. We actually make an argument.
No, there has been a few times it's been like, oh, we've actually got something to say.
That's quite good there.
Yeah,
it makes me think, God, I should have got a PhD and I could have written it down and got paid fuck all for the next 8 years of my life.
Yeah,
after graduating as a doctor of nothing.
I won't give the details, but I was this week headhunted for a much better paid job, which I spent the weekend thinking about. But I actually love my job, so I didn't do it.
Was it not in your sector? Not in academia?
I don't want to say too much. But
would you continue being a lecturer, basically?
Yes, but in a quite a different way. Yeah. Okay. So it would have been a different sort of choice, you know. But I ultimately, I was agonizing over it all weekend. But I love my job.
Would you detail in a what are we talking here? Double the pay, 50% more of the pay? More like 25% more, but that's pretty good.
That's still a lot. Yeah,
that's a lot, actually.
Yeah, and at the moment, I'm not really for whatever complicated set of circumstances, I'm not really in a position to move out of my mum's house, which is okay for millennials, which I am not even one, or I'm just about. Actually.
No,
Am I just-
you're clinging on to it. Yeah. No, you are.
I'm
You are.
I'm
You are
one of the older millennials, and it's perfectly fine for millennials to live with their parents. So I live with my mum and daughter. So, but yeah, so the pay increase would be good because I could move out. But I love my job and I actually like living with my mum and daughter. So stuck with it. Right. So anyway, what's this topic?
Oh yeah, hang on, it's written down.
I'll open my
Games.
beer.
Oh, we've written down. Wait, no, what was our fourth subject though? Because we did actually. Oh, the fourth. I know what the fourth one
Oh
is.
yeah, we got
I
it.
know this one. Yeah, we don't know it. But the third one is games. But what
Yeah.
about them in particular right now?
Well, I was happy. We decided last week, didn't we, that we would have just have a video games chat as the third subject, if there weren't like any big video games news. And it's a little bit outdated, but I've had a big week of gaming actually, because we've been on strike, so I've had a bit of time. And the new Pokemon game, it's unbelievable.
What, Legends Arceus?
It's
I have actually heard it's good. It's actually quite. It's a good one.
You know what? Like I've really complained about the last several.
Well, did you see? There's a trailer for the new one, Scarlet and Violet. Scarlet.
Yeah. But
and that's open world as well. So
the open world aspect, people are. It's nice. People are going a bit overboard on it. It's not in the same world as, it's not in the same category as Breath of the Wild for its kind of, but it's got a relatively decent open world environment, and you can travel around by just pausing and moving around, like on Pokemon Red and Blue in the 90s. You could use that Pokemon with Fly to just fly around. Yeah, you can do something like that.
The combat is what looks most interesting to me. It looks way more fun and just get on with it.
Combat's really good, really much more dynamic. And also what's really good is the two things I really like about it. One is it's hard. Mm-hmm. It's the last Pokemon game, there wasn't even one. I don't think I even fainted.
Yeah, I was gonna say
through,
I played one on the 3DS. I played Y. That's the most recent Pokemon game I've played. That was years ago, and I didn't faint. I think during that either. I remember during Pokemon Platinum actually having times that were challenging on the DS.
Yeah. I mean, the old games. I played Platinum and some of the old ones on an emulator not so long ago.
Platinum's good. Platinum's great, actually. Platinum's really good. I like that. Yeah. Maybe it was because it was my first one, though.
I mean, look, this one is not. It's not extremely hard. It's because it's sort of up to you. Have to sort of you have to buy into it in the right way. Right, because if you want to, you could just spend like 3 hours like just grinding your level up, and then you could just waltz through the whole game. But the game is really good at giving you kind of an indicator of like what level you should be at whatever time.
Yeah, like why don't you go and do this now then? To keep
So if you sort of follow you follow the natural path of it, it's extremely it's challenging enough for an adult to enjoy, whereas the last couple have just basically been children's games. So that's great. And the second thing, it's got a really nice stealth element where instead of going into battle with a Pokemon, they are there on the screen. So it's not like you can choose to battle it, and then it does that sort of Final Fantasy Persona-esque, like you're now in the battle scene, or you can like sneak around the back and like feed it berries and then throw your Pokeball and catch it without having to go into the battle screen. And that's how the Pokemon world works in the cartoons.
That's much more compelling in terms of feeling immersed, for sure. That is that's capturing that's a bit, because I remember finding Pokemon Platinum like immersive for sure. I remember when I was obsessed with that game when I first played it. I got it when I was in year 8, I think. I was absolutely obsessed with playing Pokemon. It really took me. It was my first one, and I was it was actually sad. I remember watching. I was so into it that I wanted to watch the Pokemon TV show, and I remember watching like 10 episodes of it and just thinking like, this is shit, and giving up on that. But I was still obsessed with the whole, all of that. But maybe Arceus is something that I would consider at some point. But I've got plenty of games on. Already I've got 3 games kind of that I'm cycling through at the moment, and the Pokemon one can wait until a time when I'm gonna get more use out of my Switch. So if I expect
No, my first. I like you. I played Pokemon Blue Blue was what I had. Friends had red. 1996. I was 9 years old. No, is that true?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
8 or 9.
Sounds about right.
8 or 9. So I got the Game Gear first on my 7th birthday. That was my first console. I didn't have a Game Boy until Pokemon came out and it was a real thing. And I got my stepsister at the time, who I don't know anymore from my dad's previous relationship. I got her old Game Boy and I got Pokemon Blue, and it was totally life changing. And I haven't played all the Pokemon games. I've played hardly any, but I've played one every. I played one every 3 years. Or every 2 or 3 years.
If you went to Japan, I think you'd spend so much more money than you even think you would, on just Pokemon crap. I think you would. You'd buy a lot.
Well, my daughter's
Pokemon
into
crap.
it, so we've actually got over.
You made the excuse. Yeah. It's like it's not just your budget; it's her budget too that you're using.
We've got over 50 Pokemon plushies.
You got any good cards? You got any rare Pokemon cards?
You can see this chest has been in
Is
the
that?
podcast.
Oh right. Have you got any though that you've put in plastic to be graded by the?
Yeah. I'll get it out. It's been in the back of the podcast since day one. This whole chest is actually, and this little one is the really sort of posh ones. So there's it's a bit of a mess because my daughter goes in, but they're all in the old ones from the original. Are like in the plastic, like there's a Clefairy, Flareon, a Snorlax. These are all from like the first generation of them when I was like 10 or 11.
Are they all shinies and reverses and that you kept?
Yeah, they're all shiny. Well, no, but I mean, we've also got
I know my Pokemon card terms. I used to watch this. I watch a YouTube channel. I used to watch Max Mofo Pokemon. He just opened Pokemon cards, so I wasn't even really into it. It just, he clearly was, and I quite like watching him just open them.
Do you know what else about Pokemon cards? I mean, we've also just got a whole box of relatively new ones, and they're just probably just not valuable at all. But I just put the old ones in those plastic things. But anyway, do you know what's good about Pokemon cards that people don't appreciate? My daughter and I play. I'm just going to try and show you that I'm making a mess of it. We play the actual game. Like, no one plays the actual game. Like the game is really
play
good.
It online on that thing, trading cards. Something.
You get this. You get this. This is the board. You get the various different boards with different Pokemon on, and you set up on there like kind of like Magic the Gathering. It's a little bit less complicated than Magic the Gathering, but it's pretty complicated. It's a really good board game, and people neglect that.
The closest I've come to playing a game like that was trying to play Yu-Gi-Oh on the playground at school, but I don't think any of us really understood the rules, and playing Gwent in The Witcher.
Oh yeah, right. I also liked Gwent in The Witcher.
It's very fun, Gwent.
Yeah.
There's
a game on. Is it called Into the Breach? There's a game on. That's kind of like a card game. It's nice. Yeah.
I tried playing it, couldn't really be bothered with it, but I'm quite flippant with games like that. Yeah.
Do you like things like Steam World? There's a good one, Steam World. The really good one, Steam World Dig, but the turn-based one, Steam World Heist.
Not played it.
Or what about Mario versus Rabbids?
No, I've not played that either, but I played XCOM 2. I've not finished XCOM 2, but XCOM is hard.
They're basically like they're basically turn-based card games, but that have been rendered in video game form. They're really cool. I like those. That's my gaming updates.
Well, I've been playing Elden Ring, which I talked about coming out last week, and I played that. I've only played like 4 or 5 hours, whereas other people have put silly amounts of time into it already. I played 5 hours. My impressions of it are that it's very good. I didn't like Sekiro. I didn't like Sekiro at all. No matter how many times I tried to get into it, because I could really like Dark Souls 1 and 3, and 2 is 2 is mixed.
Yeah.
And Bloodborne, I played, but I never finished because it's on PS4, and I just don't want to plug in a PS4 to play fucking Bloodborne. Simple as that.
Do you normally? Do you not have a PS4 plugged in?
I had a PS4 for a bit, but it just wasn't something that I used often enough to want to keep plugged in at all times. So I had an Xbox plugged in.
I use my PS4 for like the TV, and so I watch the football on it and stuff. Like,
I don't have a TV here. I will do because I'm moving soon, and I'll have normal facilities for normal things again.
But I just remembered several other. You're moving.
Okay. Yeah, I'm moving.
I just remembered several other new games. I've played 5. I got 5 new games this week. I haven't played all of them, but I am excited about them.
I've still got 2 more games to talk about. But go on. Talk about your phone.
No, well, I just remembered them. No, but I'm not gonna talk about them. I'm just gonna say what they are, so that
Yeah,
you know.
okay, go on.
Because I'm changing the video games course. This is my second year video games course. I'm updating the syllabus. So I was lucky, and this is one of the perks of my job. Obviously, I was lucky enough that the department of I asked for certain games to see what could be up to date, and I'm absolutely loving Disco Elysium. I got that.
Yeah, you talked about that.
Absolutely brilliant. I got Dark Soul. I got Death's Door, which is like another one of them sort of
Souls-like or something.
Souls-like, Dark Souls-like in terms of like the death, a bit like Hades, And then I haven't even opened this bad boy, but I'm really excited about this. It's the Oddworld collection.
I know of the Oddworld games. Never played them, but I know. Is it Abe? Is the Oddworld?
Oh, really? You've never played them? Well, they're a Marxist critique of capitalism. I mean, you've got to.
I know of their esteem and fame.
Yeah.
Elden Ring, however, maybe promotes individuality and conquering everything ahead of you on your own, or with help from a close community. So maybe it's libertarian in that matter. I don't know.
Anyway, sorry to no, your turn.
Elden Ring's very good. It's a very good game, and it's sort of just like playing an open world Dark Souls 3. It's familiar to me, but in a good way, because Dark Souls 3, I was like, man, that gameplay is so good. Why can't they just make another game with that kind of gameplay, but do more with it? And they have done that. And the game you were talking about, how the Pokemon game doesn't so much hold your hand, but it's like, why don't you go and do this now? Elden Ring is not like that. The game does point you to your critical path, because it's open world and it would be way too complex for the player to figure out where to go, in the way that previous Dark Souls games kind of gave you that freedom. Dark Souls 1, I suppose, anyway. Because I rocked up to this boss fight that the game points you to, with. I don't remember the name. Something the fell something.
I'm looking at it now. I don't know anything about this game.
And I rocked up there thinking, I'm going to take this gun, and I did well in my first attempt. I got him down to just a third of his health bar left. But I was thinking I'm not doing any damage. And then the game, I had a look, because I thought, am I going mad here? Am I meant to be able to beat this boss right now? So I just Googled it, quickly, just to see what's like the level to fight this guy at. And it's like, no, you should probably do some other things first. The game doesn't at all communicate that to you, though, because I've gotten through everything else up to that point fine. It was just, that was like the hard wall of, no, you're not ready. Go away. Do something else.
So that feature is part of this Pokemon world as well. So there are certain Pokemon roaming about, which are like something you should definitely come back to, not deal with at that point. But they're clearly indicated. So it's like they literally have red eyes. And if they've got red eyes... I've
seen that, the red-eyed Snorlax that just destroys you.
You basically know if it's got red eyes, this is not like part of the story, but something that I can use at the right time and come back and try and defeat it at a certain time. So that,
I have accidentally wandered into... I've gone into areas that were really hard, and I've had to... There's stealth now in Elden Ring. Stealth was something they added in Sekiro, and it's in Elden Ring, and that's great. I got myself into an area that I was way too underleveled for, and I had to just sneak out. But it teaches you it early so that you know about it. It's just I'm really enjoying playing it, because the other game I've been playing is Valheim, which is it's a co-op, if you want it to be, survival game set in sort of with a Norse backdrop, an ancient Norse backdrop, and it's just one of those build a house, build this, make sure you don't starve, one of those games, but they're fun to play with somebody else, and it's it's very nice looking, nice art style. And the final game, which I'm ashamed to say, because last week I said everyone's playing the new Destiny expansion, and I'm not. I did it, but I play with these guys, and I've been playing with them for a long time, and they were playing it, and I was like, I miss playing with those guys though. So I was like, I'll get the fucking expansion to facilitate having a social experience, for fuck's sake.
We should somehow rig up a system where we can play a game and chat and record that at the same time.
Yeah, I don't know what, because you play on a Switch, and it's Not really got like a good
play
mic
what?
setup.
No, but I've got I've also got something where I can. Well, I don't know. Yeah, maybe through the PlayStation. The Switch won't be good enough, but maybe the PlayStation.
Maybe through the PlayStation, your microphone,
or maybe a PC game. Yeah, I do have maybe something, because my laptop isn't like very good, but it's okay. Like there are lots of Steam games.
Taxing.
Yeah. There are lots of Steam games we could do.
Yeah, we'd have to think of something about that. Yeah, I'm sure we can think of something. For sure.
There was one game I forgot to mention that I bought this week and was a bit disappointed by, and that's Ollie World.
Oh, you said about that last week.
Oh, did I?
Unless you have more thoughts on it this week, where we become more disappointed with it.
Not last week that I said that. No,
you mentioned it because you were saying it's just a bit like Trials, like do the challenge.
Yeah. No, I suppose I've just been thinking more about about Jet Set Radio and how there is no game that's like it. But there's a new game.
But isn't there that game? I thought Sunset Overdrive was a bit like that. I don't know because I never played Jet Set Radio.
Bomb Rush Cyber. There's a game that's still being funded called Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, and it looks like exactly the thing. Yeah, you're right. This is exactly the things I was saying last week. How what I was expecting from Ollie World I didn't get. A student of mine showed me some trailers and clips and art from Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, which is still forthcoming, and it
5
looks,
syllables.
Now, this is the game I've been waiting for years.
Have you ever had a look at Sunset Overdrive though? Do you know what that is? I don't know if it's even fair to compare it to Jet Set Radio. It might be. Maybe it isn't anything.
It does. I like the art.
You do, you grind on stuff and run around and jump on, things, and it's.
I can't even play this because I don't have an Xbox or Windows PC. It looks good.
It might be on PS4. I don't know. I don't know if it is.
No, I don't think so.
No, it isn't.
No, it's not.
Yeah, there's an Xbox exclusive that Insomniac made. Yeah.
This looks really like my thing. Yeah. People also ask, is Sunset Overdrive inappropriate? The game is very mature.
Because we don't know. They don't know if it's a kid's game or not. That's probably 15 minutes on that subject. So let's move on again, I suppose, to the last subject, which was actually one that I found today in an article. I need to finish my drink though, so maybe just ramble for a bit.
I want to finish I'm going to open my next Corona. I just want to say that about Sunset Overdrive, Jet Set Radio, and all of those examples.
All of them have 5 syllables. 5 syllables in the name. All 3 of them.
I wanted to say.
Well, that's what they have.
I wanted to say that graffiti needs redeeming. Graffiti is
Splatoon
extremely
sort of has
important and interesting thing, and countercultures around skate cultures, graffiti culture, that sort of thing. I'm loving that, and I want to see a revival of that. What I think is skate culture has become corporate instead of rebellious.
The bands and shit like that.
Yeah, and I want to see.
Yeah, it's like Nirvana and stuff like that. All get absorbed. They all get absorbed by capitalism. You can't avoid it.
Yeah,
it's over.
I want to see that change and bring on that skatey, subversive, radical cyberpunk future. Now, on a sort of related note, somebody tried to be radical.
Yeah, somebody tried to be radical in was it India? Was it India? Yeah. Independent. Sorry, I just got to decline all of the cookies from the Independent. Reject all.
I'm just doing the same. Doing the same.
It was so the student, it was their final attempt at this exam after repeatedly failing it since getting admission into the college 11 years ago. Yeah, this picture, this is how they were cheating the exams. It makes you question maybe the quality of medical education in India. I'm looking at this, I'm like, to me, it all just looks a bit shambolic, but maybe that's, I've been colored by Western expectations and things. There's that word again. Anglo-American expectations.
No, but listen, you've got to tell the story in full. So you got to tell the story in full. So the guy, he's failed a load of exams.
He's failed a lot of exams. He's got one last attempt, one last shot. So what he's done is he has surgically implanted a Bluetooth device of some description behind his ear, which he connected to his phone, which he had sewn into his trouser leg so that he could cheat during the exam. Now, they found the phone, but they couldn't find what it was connected to. And that, then it was found that he had himself implanted it behind his ear.
And he could hear it.
And he could hear it, I guess, through his, he must, so clearly he's a pretty good surgeon then.
So it's a little speaker.
Yeah, I guess.
I know the article doesn't say, does it?
No, the article is quite vague, actually, about
the
that.
The article says a Bluetooth device. So it could be just anything. It could be like, literally, he created a brain chip. But it's more likely to be a little speaker that you can just about hear. And that's going there. And then low volume. The phone is... People are texting things to the phone.
Maybe he's just got all the answers playing on a loop or something on his phone. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. But what it made me think of, it's transhumanism, but just like a really shit form of it. But maybe this is the best form of it because it's not corporate. It's not corporate. It's not corporately owned. It's not Elon Musk torturing monkeys. It's just some dude putting a speaker in his ear.
No, that's too. That's too.
His doctorate.
I don't know why I find this story so funny, but it's fucking mad. That's 2 points there, Ruben. One is that, I totally agree. It's better than Neuralink. I would rather let this guy just have a crack at my ear than I would implant a Microsoft chip in my brain. I'm sure I'm going to have the Microsoft one done, just like I had the vaccine done in no time. But yeah, I would rather that. So that's one point. But also that point about the cyborg future, that's what's appealing about this story. Like, what if, think
it's
about
DIY.
Fallout. What if post-human, the concepts of post-humanism, I think they are quite radical. I think like the people who write those things from the 80s onwards, for instance, Donna Haraway in the 80s, this kind of cyborg feminism and stuff like that. I think this is a radical. It's not what capitalism wants. Well, obviously what capitalism wants is you just to sort of do what Google says. So, the Elon Musk brand. So there is a future, I think, and I actually like this. The exam is part of your system, whatever. There is a future, I think, in which we're hacking into each other's ears and trying to make out workarounds and things like that. Like, it's been in the movies for years and years, but like, it's a funny story because it's an exam, but I don't know, something about exams is really funny, but it's actually quite an important story, I think. Yeah.
Well, he's clearly quite a good surgeon, though.
Hang on. There were surgeons, 2 students. No, they were passing answers to each other through these.
What?
I think 2 students had them in, so maybe they were muttering answers to each other in the exam.
Oh my God. I hate to be the one to say it, but this is an India moment. This is an India moment.
Well, that's what the article says, to be honest. Without quite saying it, it says
India
has been renowned for these kind of moments.
Yeah. They detail a story from a few years ago that's
exactly
equally well, not as mad, but funny maybe.
But I suppose, what is it, a medical exam? That's the thing I'm trying to work out.
It was
medical college.
He's a medical he's trying to become a doctor.
This is honorary degree shit. This is honorary degree material.
Yeah.
You failed your exam, mate, but you got an honorary degree because that worked.
I have to wonder, will he be picked up by somebody for doing that? He'll be approached by a representative of Elon Musk.
Shall we approach him and say that we want you to put the Live and Ideology podcast on loop and insert it into
your brain,
many ears,
and then you can tell us what happens.
Your own ear.
We can see what happens to you. By the end of it, he's just sort of a raving lunatic.
Yeah.
No major historical event of the last 100 years actually happened. That'll be it. That'll be his claim.
And if you would like us to try and do that, you should call for a referendum, a national referendum, which would just facilitate us being able to. Okay. Thanks, everyone. And I mean, I suppose in a broader sense, why I like this story is schools and how fucking shit they are. Like, I cheated on exams. I've got some good stories about that. Not that I've got better.
I cheated on an exam in year 7, French exam.
I cheated on GCSE French.
Well, yeah, everyone cheated on their GCSE languages though, because the teachers more or less let you do it on purpose. They were sort of like, you write it all down on this piece of paper, and then they turn it so you could only see it. You could see it sideways, and you would just sort of do that, and they'd just be looking like, oh, really?
Yeah, right. So the whole of
there it is.
That's correct. So at some point in the history of like language schooling in the UK, like the Union of Language Teachers must have decided, well, we are actually incapable of teaching these cretins our language. So
once a week with no practice at home, with everything else that like a secondary school student has to do for their GCSEs, they're not going to do well in their French. They're not going to. I guarantee the people who I know from school who got A's on all of their exams cannot understand or speak a fucking word of French today. You know, I did terribly in my languages, but I've got a pretty crap understanding of a second language still. You know, like an actual functional understanding of a second language.
You tell me a phrase in English, and I'll try and say it in French.
Well, I don't know how complex to go of it. I don't know.
I did GCSE, so what do you think I can't say?
At the coffee shop, I got 2 coffees with my friend.
Oof.
Few layers to it. Yeah, see?
À le café. I got. Bloody hell, I can't even do that.
I don't know what that is in French.
I can say I have. I had got. Hang on. I think I can. I can't. I can say the rest of it apart from got. I can say à le café. J'ai du café avec mon ami. But I haven't said got right. I've said I have. I've said at the cafe. Yeah. I have 2
That's
coffees.
fine. As long as someone understands you, that's the main thing. You have to be able to communicate what it is you're trying to say. The trouble is with the French that they're a pretty like hard audience to please when it comes to speaking their language. Not only will they refuse to speak English, but they're fairly obnoxious when you try and speak French, is my understanding of the French.
Well, I had a friend at school, not to call him out, but he was called Cade. I think the chances of him listening are extremely limited. But he did a French listening exam. And Cade. He was a
real life example of a Cade in the world.
Yeah, but not Kade like in video games. It was Caed.
Caed. Okay, I was thinking it was a Cayde because there is a video game character called that as well, and I was like, surely not that.
I got a good story about him and I firing the French team. It's a language related. But anyway, first of all, he prepared this language exam that was basically really like dirty. It was like, you know, you have to go and do the oral exam where you have to say like, I really like going to the shop on Wednesday with my friend and the cinema. And his was like the content. I can't quite remember the content, but it was about lesbians and stuff like that. It was like he prepared this really detailed thing about like my main interests are watching lesbians fuck and things like that. And just sort of delivered this like deadpan to the French teacher, who gave him a fail. And then he appealed.
Even though he probably did very well. Even though he probably spoke
this is the story. Yeah. He appealed to the head of French and said, you know, I've met the marking criteria, and he got an A.
Let's go. That's huge. That's a huge victory for Cade.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good. I like this story. I will pass that story.
Yeah, he was fun. Yeah, he was a good friend. I don't friends with him anymore. I just don't know him anymore. But he was a good friend. But we also fired the French teacher by we forged a letter from the senior management team saying that she'd been fired because of.
You're just cunts.
No, well, this is interesting because I was like getting into, you know, what do you call that? Time waster letters.
Yeah, the persecution of languages.
Yeah, I was really interested I was really into this time waster letters, and I wrote these letters to her, directly to her, saying just all sorts of mad stuff, just time waster letters saying basically, you know, all I remember is that they started with bonjour, comma, and they ended with yours sincerely. So it was like this kind of weird, like and one of the things I could remember complaining about was that the grain of the carpet was like facing the wrong way, so that like it was quicker to get in the class than leave, and just all sorts of mad little
really annoying bollocks.
Yeah, just really annoying bollocks. And anyway, and then then we were like, we did 3 of those. They were all signed like by me. And Cade was just thought this was really funny. It was like egging me on. And then we were trying to like go to the next level without pranks. So we decided to like basically plot this sacking. So we forged this letter on this kind of fake headed paper signed by the senior management saying basically you've been fired for repeated complaints. Because we thought, well, we complained. So anyway, I chickened out and started saying to Cade, like, listen, mate, I can't do this. This is too much. I'm going to get in real trouble. I don't want to get in real trouble. I've got my career ahead of me, sort of thing. And he was like, right, listen, I promise you, if you go ahead and do it, I'll take the blame. I thought, all right, okay, fine, then that's fine. You're taking the blame, then I'm going to do this, right? So we was trying to get this letter into her pigeonhole in the staff room. And now I'm sure there's a race angle on this one, but basically we both chickened out. So we paid Lakeisha a £5 to put it in the pigeonhole. And she did that, sneaked it in, whatever, for us in this kind of envelope, whatever. We waited. And we heard later that day from the head of French. She called, predictably, she's not stupid, not as stupid as I thought. So she obviously straight away thought, well, this is definitely Alfie because he sent those fake letters. So she called me into the room and was like, well, you've just done this, haven't you? And I was like, no. And she was like, Miss Mateo, she was called. Fine, she's listening, hello. Has gone home crying because she thought she'd been fired.
That's quite cruel to put it that way.
Yeah, bad. But I didn't own up to it. And Cade did. He followed through on his promise. That's a good friend.
That is a good friend.
Yeah,
that's a very good friend, actually.
And he had to do
contact Cade. Get. I don't know if maybe he doesn't drink. I don't know. You can have a coffee with Cade. Have a coffee with Cade. See what he's.
I think he probably does drink. Yeah, because I've seen him in the pub about 5-6 years ago, actually. But he literally went there without me even saying you got to do it. He went and said, "Look, it was me."
This guy sounds great.
And he had to.
He's a real one. He's a real one.
Yeah, he had to do some picking up litter in the playground. That was it. But great stories anyway, and it was a good time. Thanks, Kate. I'll never forget. And that's why I like this language, this exam guy, because I think when you're cheating is more creative and interesting than the course itself.
He had been there 11 years, to be fair. So I don't know. He sounds like he's a fucking moron, except for the fact that he can take a scalpel to his ear and just, slip something in there.
Yeah. Yeah. But
how does he do that? He's got the fortitude and the constitution to cut his own behind his ear open and put something back in there. But he can't remember how to pass this exam. He can't remember the answers.
That's the odd thing. I mean, I was just about to say, do you reckon he's under enormous pressure from his family to pass and he just can't, and he feels really stressed about it?
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, how hard is it to surely it's harder.
It's harder than it is to just remember something. Yeah.
Yeah. I hope he's a proper, Tinder swindler type. Catch me if you can guy who just, I hope it's not a sad story about a poor working class guy or something that was so stressed he'd cut his head open. I hope it's he was a proper chancer who was just living on the edge the whole time and cheating everyone.
I mean, I cheated in a French exam in year 7, and I wrote all the answers down on the wall next to me. And the teacher didn't really give a shit, clearly. He didn't care at all. Yeah. I remember his name to this day. And he was all right, He clearly took a very passionate approach to teaching, but it didn't really mean that, it didn't resonate with me in terms of remembering anything and passing my exams. But it was fun being in his classes, for sure. He was a good dude, for sure. But yeah, I cheated in a French exam in year 7, and that's probably how I got put in set 1 French. Was doing that because so much pressure had been put on me to accomplish being in set 1 French because I'd done well in my SATs in year 6, and then I'd yeah, my family put all this pressure on me to do it. So I cheated because I was like, well, I've got to get into set one, and I'm shit at French. So
was it like if you get in set one, your mum be like, well done, Ruben, let's go to Nando's or something.
It's 20 quid. I don't even
Yeah.
Nando's wasn't even on my radar when I was in year 7. What was on my radar in year 7? I don't know, a new game for my Nintendo Wii, because I didn't have an Xbox back then. Bit of a weird kid, to be honest.
Is Nando's on your radar now?
Well, not in Norway, but in England for sure. Yeah, Nando's was great. Nando's is great. Yeah,
Nando's is good for me at the minute because my daughter's at the age, she's 6. She's just now on the cusp, like, because
you're using cutlery well and stuff, yeah, that kind of thing.
No, she's always been super fun, but like she's just now able to like go and enjoy stuff I would enjoy. So like we went to the cinema the other day to see Sing 2. It's a fucking funny film, actually. It's good. I recommend it. But we went for a Nando's afterwards, and that's for her. That's a treat. Like it's like, can we go Nando's? It's like, yeah, I want to go Nando's. Like that is. So yeah, I can start hanging out with her as a friend, and Nando's is key because it's like she likes going to the pub or a restaurant, but an adult restaurant, it's not as fun for her as Nando's. Nando's is just a bit.
Nando's got a bit more tactile, I guess, for a kid.
Exactly. And she can go and exactly. She can choose her spices. She goes and fills up her own drink on that like infinite drinks thing.
Yeah. Well,
I think we've run out of time, everybody.
I think we have. I had a little anecdote about French teachers, but I think language is okay. Yeah, my cousin and his friends were in, I think, the bottom set for French, or the second to the lowest set for French, and it was around the time Borat was in the cinema that they were in year 11. So they sat at the back of the class, just like, and they were knobs anyway through all of these lessons. But once Borat came out and my wife was a thing, they just said that the moment the teacher would turn around and write anything on the board, they would say it. One of them would say it in the room. So this teacher was just being, and they would never own up to who said it. And for some reason, this teacher couldn't work out who it was that had said it. So they just drove her, I think, they just drove her mad gradually over a number of, I don't know, weeks, terms, whatever. And eventually she walked out of the room in tears in one of the lessons, which is horrible, but also quite funny that they did it just by saying my wife over and over again.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good story. I'll take that.
Language teachers though have it rough. No one listens. No one respects them. No one can.
I feel like that's right. I mean, that's what I was talking about. The things
despite about how valuable a language is, no one listens to language teachers.
It's not the first thing on the list of things that are wrong with the West, but yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous the way British school kids and schools treat languages, and the fact that they are already, like, we both told stories where the teachers are colluding in the cheating because it's totally, it is totally screwed, So of course they're going to, we should have a referendum on the languages becoming like the most important. Forget maths, that's rubbish. There's no need for maths. No, there probably is for coding. Science, let's get that out. Let's get science out and say out. Languages. Yeah,
languages are in. Science is out. Yeah. Languages are in.
Science is saying all sorts of rubbish in the news at the minute. So that's it. That's our referendum, and I'm sure that'll do just as well as Farage's. Good night, everyone. Oh, patrons, stick around. We're going to play that stupid game again. Hopefully, Ruben's going to challenge me a bit more than last week.
I'll come up with someone. I haven't already.
I haven't either, but we'll do that in a minute.
Languages are out. Wait, science is out.
Science out.
Languages are in.
Patrons in. Hang on, everyone else out. Patrons in. Patrons and languages in. Everyone else in science out.
Bye.